to ensure our rights to privacy. As drones are becoming more and more commonplace, it is essential that we educate and prepare ourselves. We are anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expectos.
Another drone spotted, they probably looking for me. These strings are getting tangled, now these puppets looking funny. We die for crooked money, surviving through the culling, and try not to become it, but they lying to the public. They flying right above us, but instead we bow. With these iPads in our face, we stayed looking down. Look around and you see these human lives tortured. Have to stay awake till this brutal time's over. Psychotropic drugs, suicide soldiers take their own lives while they choose to die for us. Control us, program us, now the plans to have us looking like James Holmes and Adam Lanza. Cram us.
So I point a few things out here. If you want to find out about Mark Zuckerberg, take a peek through these. Okay. I won't touch them again. I've been in there before, and anywho, here's what we're looking for. Now in here, we got the whole 1611 authorized King James Bible. Okay, just shut up and get on the art. So it is. It's got everything. Everything. Okay. Because in case you missed it, they're starting to change things in the Bibles now. They have clergy response teams. But that's for another time. So it tells you, you know, what to watch out for and everything. Heretics. Crazy stuff. But I'm looking for this one interview that I think is one of the most incredible interviews ever, and for some reason I can't find it. I'm sure I'll find it when I post the video though. I'll find it. Here's some things that you certainly need to know about, for sure. These are all links. And folks, no shame. I highly suggest you go and look at them. If you don't know about them already. I'm going through the fucking articles and shit here looking for this interview, and the amount of information is fucking mind-boggling. This is over on JesusTheSavior.com/evils government police state USA. Any of those should get you there under things you need to know about. It's under Craig Paul Roberts. Anywho, if you guys don't know who Gary Webb is, wow. I'm real surprised. But if you don't know, former journalist, did his job, did right by America, awesome fucking guy, incredible story. I've done a few videos on him, but it's been a while. And I just wanted to show you some videos about Gary Webb and some other people like him, and still going on, you know. But I promise you, I'm gonna find that interview. One of the last true journalists. There's a few videos here. There's the entire one for theirs. So this was like 1 month or some shit like that before he died. The CIA said they were looking into him and shit like that. And, like, I'm gonna do a whole nother video on him, but just so you guys can get an idea of how important this person was, and not only him, but Rick Ross. If you don't know Freeway Ricky Ross, you're gonna learn him. So we're gonna do a lot more on these guys and guys like them. So I want you to watch this video. It's real important. And then the following video. Some more stuff to know over here. So it goes through his whole story here, you know, who he was and everything. Out of Sacramento, and just an incredible story that has a lot to do with a lot of shit. And I mean, folks, you should hear some of the stories. Unreal. Fucking, you know, come home 3 o'clock in the morning, got guys sliding down his drain pipe and shit out of his window. Crazy shit. So there's all this. I'll leave it in the description, and check out them videos. They're crazy. That's it for now. God bless and carry on.
And finally tonight, here at InfoWars Nightly News, I want to share with you personally what was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. I went to see Kill the Messenger. That's been out for about a week in the United States and worldwide, based on a book by Gary Webb, who was, of course, the journalist who wrote the Dark Alliance story back in the late 1990s about the CIA and the crack cocaine epidemic. And as I watched the 2-hour film, it was really more of a documentary than it was an action thriller based on a true story. And I've got to say that the producer and also the lead star, Jeremy Renner, deserves multiple Academy Awards for his lead role, because I knew Gary Webb and knew him well, and for the production. I don't know if it'll win all those awards because the average person or even the Academy doesn't have the inside knowledge I have on this. I knew Gary Webb very, very well. I never met him in person. I had to have interviewed him 15 times or more, sometimes for 2 hours at length on my syndicated radio show in the same time slot it is today. Because back then he was an outcast. He'd won all these awards for his Dark Alliance piece. They tried to discredit it, never really discrediting it. And of course, now it's been declassified just a month ago that the CIA admits that they did target him, they did try to destroy him. And watching the 2-hour film, I ran through the gamut of emotions. Intellectual realization of tyranny, what a hero Gary Webb was. I felt terrible for his friends, editors, and others that turned their back on him under the pressure and the propaganda, going through a lot of the similar things that Gary Webb has gone through. I empathized with him. And then all the interviews and all our private conversations began to come back to me, and I actually felt nauseated when the CIA was threatening his children, and when he had people breaking into the night to his apartment, and because I remember Gary Webb telling me about all this.
The general idea of the CIA dealing drugs was something that the American mainstream press had never written about before.
I remember Gary Webb sending me a disc of documents that he wanted me to put online for his new book that was coming out. And he wanted to break a lot of that information on my show because I was willing to do it. And then I also shared guilt with the rest of the people in the movie, because even though I'd had him on and knew the CIA was bringing in drugs, hell, they've been doing that since the 60s on record with opium out of Vietnam, it was that I already knew that. I'd already interviewed him a bunch. And so it was kind of an old story. And I thought it was a war we'd won getting the truth out. I didn't realize they were still destroying him, and he was fighting for his life. And he told me they were threatening him and breaking into his house. He told Freeway Ricky Ross, who I've interviewed probably 10 times as well, the first interview from prison. We got that with Kevin Booth years ago. Ross said on my show right after he committed suicide, after Webb died, that he had told him they were going to kill him. And how they do it is they come to your house, they say, we're going to kill your kids. If you don't, fill out this suicide note. And then they'll show you photos of your kids, you know, riding their motorcycle or getting off the school bus. And then they shot him twice in the head. And they undoubtedly murdered him. Then they threatened the family and they shut up. And I kept expecting in the movie that they would go along with the suicide narrative. They didn't do that. They clearly imply the CIA killed him. It's just a masterpiece. I mean, that's all I can say. And thank God this happened, because Gary Webb will now get his reputation back posthumously. And it will send a major message to the establishment that you can even kill the messenger, but that you can't kill the signal. I am now going to tear apart the 5 storage buildings we have with all our old books and videos and tapes and letters and tax documents to try to find that disc. And I'm also going to try to dig out all those interviews that should have been online, but we're having trouble finding them, to try to really make at least a documentary for InfoWars Nightly News, adding to the master work that the director and the producers have done with Kill the Messenger. If you see one movie in 2014, if you show your friends and family one film in 2014, if professors are going to recommend one film in 2014 for their college students to go see, it's this. Because I covered this in depth. I interviewed him and the other major players involved, famous Iran-Contra whistleblowers like Tosh Plumlee and countless others. I've probably interviewed, let's not exaggerate, 30 or more CIA whistleblowers, like Terry Reid, who was there at Mina loading the cocaine with Oliver North and Clinton. I mean, I've been in this as much as Gary Webb. I've been threatened over this. And I'm not here lionizing myself. I got nauseated when I realized I was right in the middle of this and am in such a haze covering all this stuff that I didn't even click that I was in the middle of this and didn't even appreciate Gary Webb wanting to work with me. And it makes me see all the other stories I drop. But you know what? I can't cover it all. My team can't handle it all either. That's what's so crazy about the level of corruption, is it's just overwhelming. And while I was watching the movie, I remembered the last conversation I ever had with Webb. I kept saying, yeah, I'll put the website up. Yeah, I'll help you. And he called up and he said, man, they're destroying my life. I've got all the documents to prove it now. I've got this book coming out to vindicate myself. And you said you'd help me. And I'll even help you. I'll even pay you after I'm able to sell the book. They've taken everything I got. What the hell's your problem? Jones, you told me you'd help me. Nobody helps me, and slammed the phone down. And I thought, well, kind of a jerk, but I get why he's under attack, oh, whatever. And then his head's blown off a few months later. So whatever you do in your life, folks, stand up for whistleblowers, support them, go the extra mile. But in the final equation, he's been vindicated. And I don't know why the CIA came out a month ago and admitted that they targeted him and tried to destroy him and did all this. Maybe they feel guilty for what they've done. I don't know. Or maybe it's just a threat to all other journalists and they think this will create a chilling effect. It's just so sick. And now it's come out, the rest of the story, that they're running the Los Zetas crew. It's in the El Paso Times, the Chicago Tribune, that these drug dealers bringing in billions a month in cocaine and other drugs are admitting they work for the CIA to control the networks, that the big banks laundered 370-something million in drug money in a 2-year period. That was even in Bloomberg a few years ago. And no one gets in trouble. Gary Webb is and was a true hero. And when they threatened his children and his wife and his family, he didn't back down. And then I watched those actors playing the parts of the editors and the people at the San Jose Mercury News and how they turned their back on their friend. I didn't hate them. I felt sick at just the herd, cowardly mentality that just runs through culture and runs through society today. And I almost didn't even do this review of the film because I don't know how you talk about something so real, so powerful. The actor playing Webb sounds like him, looks like him, acts like him. When he's getting frustrated in the movie and getting mad and yelling at people, I have been yelled at just like that. It's a nightmare almost to realize that I was living a nightmare and I was so busy covering so many stories, I didn't even realize how important it was. Because it wasn't just about the government bringing in drugs and the banks laundering the money and CIA aircraft crashing in Mexico and all the stuff that's come out since then. It was about them destroying the truth and destroying a man who stood up for what was right in the face of his house getting broken into and his car getting messed with and his kids getting threatened and losing his wife and her divorcing him and everybody turning their back on him and them just assassinating his character first before they killed him. And I realized that if they can assassinate my character or Ron Paul's character like they're trying to do, they had the White House attack us twice in the last week through Media Matters, that they will kill me. And that's why I got nauseated. It's not even the fear of death. It's that our weakness are these people's strength. And the fact that we lay down and are passive is why this corruption has grown and grown and grown. So throughout this piece, we've been flashing up some of these news articles that are here, but people should go back and read these about confirmed DEA struck a deal with Mexico's most notorious drug cartel. Confirmed Mexico drug plane used for CIA rendition or kidnap torture flights, or Operation Fast and Furious as a false flag. All of this is coming out. And it's because of people like Gary Webb breaking down that first layer, being the shock troop of truth, being on the very cutting edge of trying to bring justice to this society. It's people like him, the foundation that all of us, men and women of every race, color, and creed, stand together today. And they targeted this individual and destroyed this individual because they're afraid of the power of the individual. They're afraid of what people with truth and justice can do. And that's why I always end this transmission by saying, if you are watching or listening to this, you are the resistance. You do have power. We can make a better world. We can stand up for what's right. We can end this drug war and decriminalize. We can start shutting down the prisons. We can have an economy based on justice and based on innovation and based on exploration, not based on fraud, not based on SWAT teams and lawyers and huge prison complexes. We have the biggest prison population in the world. We have the worst levels of cancer and disease in the world. We've gone from the most blessed country to the most cursed by every metric. Well, that's it for this edition of InfoWars Nightly News. Great job of the crew earlier here in studio breaking it all down. Lord willing, I'll be back tomorrow live on the radio, 11 to 2 Central, Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I want to salute the folks that put out Kill the Messenger. They've tried to kill me as a messenger. So I hope we can all come together in solidarity and promote liberty. And I hope the producers and the stars of the film will come on the show so that we can share our experiences together. But again, I salute the makers of this film for their courage. There's never been a film like this made before.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water. I can like taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
Yeah, it has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. Members can share their passcodes with up to 11 other people, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.
Apologize for arriving late. I was supposed to speak yesterday, and I was tied up with some filming with BBC in Houston of a story, which I can't mention right now because of the press conference coming up, but it could change U.S. history somewhat. And So hold on for next week if the media doesn't just blanket the thing out. And I snuck in on a red-eye special flight last night, rationalizing it, well, at 9 in the morning nobody will be there, so I can sort of, doze through my talk. And here I come to a full house and all this energy, and anyway, I'll suck it up and try to. I'm very eager to be here and very excited. We have some tremendous ideas flowing in this conference. My expertise, as you know, is CIA, Marine Corps, 3 CIA secret wars. I had a position in the National Security Council in 1975 as the chief of the Angola task force running the secret war in Angola. It was the 3rd CIA secret war I was part of. We had a scandal. I testified for 5 days before the Congress, like Ollie North. I did not burn files. I did not plead the 5th Amendment because I felt like as an officer in our services, if we had somehow broken the law, and we had indeed, I had written out papers about the laws we were breaking, that I had a duty to stand up and take my medicine. So I was challenging the people in the congressional committees to do their duty and put us in jail. Now, it's not that I wanted to go to jail, but I had the notes and dates and details and cables and texts where it was absolutely guaranteed that I could take Henry Kissinger and CIA Director Bill Colby to jail with me. And needless to say, they did not do their duty, and these people went on to break other laws and their successors to break other laws and to cover them up, as you saw in the Iran-Contra scandal. I'm going to move pretty rapidly because we have a brief amount of time and some other wonderful speakers. But what we're going to talk about is just a quick review of this national security thing, the national security laws, and where that puts our country today and where it's going. The national security law creating the National Security Council and the CIA, as you know, was passed in 1947. The CIA was given this charter to perform such other duties and function as might be necessary to the national security interests, and given a vague authority to protect its sources and methods. Now, it has lobbied continuously throughout these several decades to obtain an official secrets act where it would just flat have, you know, people who attacked it or criticized it or exposed its criminality could in fact go to jail. The national security actions that it undertook immediately, dozens of them adding up very fast, that were of course rationalized in terms of the national security of the U.S., not well defined ever at any point, just a vague catch-all to justify things, and of course generally the struggle against communism. We can look at this historically because communism, you know, is now dead and the Soviet bloc has broken up and George Bush and Gorbachev are big buddies now. So the understandings and perceptions, though, of this thing, as Bo was just saying, this is extremely important for you to understand. I think it was in the mid-'80s that I coined this phrase, the Third World War, because in my research I realized that we were not attacking the Soviet Union and the CIA's activities. We were attacking people in the Third World. And I'm going to just quickly, in the interest of time, just give you a little sense of what that means, this Third World War. Basically, it's the third, I believe, in terms of loss of life and human destruction, the third bloodiest war in all of history. They undertake to run operations in every corner of the globe. They also undertook the license of operating just totally above and beyond U.S. laws. They had a license, if you will, to kill, but also they took that to a license to smuggle drugs, a license to do all kinds of things to other people in other societies in violation of international law, our law, and every principle of nations working together for a healthier and more peaceful world. Meanwhile, again, they battled to convert the U.S. legal system in such a way that it would give them control of our society. Now, we have massive documentation of what they call the secret wars of the CIA. We don't have to guess or speculate. We had the Church Committee investigate them in 1975, gave us our first really in-depth, powerful look inside this structure. Senator Church said in the 14 years before he did his investigation that he found they had run 900 major operations and 3,000 minor operations. And if you extrapolate that over the whole period of the 40-odd years that we've had a CIA, you come up with 3,000 major operations and over 10,000 minor operations. Every one of them illegal, every one of them disruptive of the lives and societies of other peoples, and many of them bloody and gory beyond comprehension almost. Extensively, we manipulated and organized the overthrow of functioning constitutional democracies in other countries. We organized secret armies and directed them to fight in just about every continent in the world. We encouraged ethnic minorities to rise up and fight. People like the Mosquito Indians in Nicaragua, the Kurds in the Middle East, the Mongols in Southeast Asia. And of course, if you think about racial tension, just think about what it would do in this society if some country were coming in with massive aid to encourage the radicals or the wilder elements in our minorities to begin raping and murdering and blowing things up, and how violently we would react. And we have been doing this systematically to other countries around the world. We have organized, and we still do, and fund death squads in countries around the world, like the Treasury Police in El Salvador, which are responsible for most of the killing of the 50,000 people just in the 80s, and there was 70,000 before that. These things lead us into wars. Once again, if we had, you know, a full day, I would go into great detail on every one of these. An orchestration, CIA, secret teams, and propaganda led us directly into the Korean War. We were attacking China from the islands, Quemoy, Matsu, Thailand, Tibet. A lot of drug trafficking involved in this, by the way, until eventually we convinced ourselves to fight the Chinese in Korea. And we had the Korean War, and 1 million people were killed. Same thing for the Vietnam War, and we have extensive documentation of how the CIA was involved at every level, or the national security complex, because it's a very cooperative thing, into manipulating the nation into the Vietnam War. Meanwhile, inside the United States, of course, the people who would do these things overseas, they come back inside this country. They don't suddenly clean up their act. They were running operations across the United States that really kind of take your breath away. The MH Chaos program, a billion-dollar program to penetrate and manipulate civic organizations, labor and student organizations across the nation. The MK Ultra program, which was designed to experiment for over 2 decades on American citizens with disease and drugs. The LSD thing got to be as a CI experiment at Harvard Medical School and other comparable institutions. Once again, massive documentation about this. I publish a book list which you're welcome to order copies of if you want to write down an address of the best books that I've found on the subject. I've read hundreds, and I analyze this out down to the best 120 books and annotate them so that you can get a sense of which one you might want to read first and which one second. You should write to We Can Publishers. This is an organization of volunteers in Austin that I don't have anything directly to do with, that on a volunteer basis photocopies these things and sends them out. They're located at 504 East 20, pardon, 504 West 24th Street, number 79. Austin, Texas, 78705. That's 504 West 24th Street, number 79. Austin, 78705. We Can. I don't know what it means. We Can Publishers. Now, everywhere the CIA...
I suggest you go and look at them. If you don't know about them already. I'm going through the fucking articles and shit here looking for this interview, and the amount of information is fucking mind-boggling. This is over on JesusIsSavior.com/evils government.
Must remain ever vigilant to ensure our rights to privacy. As drones are becoming more and more commonplace, it is essential that we educate and prepare ourselves. We are anonymous. We do not forget. We do not forget. Expect us.
Another drone spotted, they probably looking for me. These strings are getting tangled, now these puppets looking funny. We die for crooked money, surviving through the culling, and try not to become it, but they lying to the public. They flying right above us, but instead we bow. With these iPads in our face, we stayed looking down. Look around and you see these human lives tortured. Have to stay awake till this brutal time's over. Psychotropic drugs, suicide soldiers take their own lives while they choose to die for us. Control us, program us, now the plans to have us looking like James Holmes and Adam Lanza.
So I point a few things out here. If you want to find out about our police state USA. Any of those should get you there under things you need to know about. It's under Craig Paul Roberts. And if you guys don't know who Gary Webb is, wow. I'm real surprised. But if you don't know, former journalist, did his job, did right by America, awesome fucking guy, incredible story. I've done a few videos on him, but it's been a while. And I just wanted to show you some videos about Gary Webb and some other people. In case you missed it, they're starting to change things in the Bibles now. They have clergy response teams. But that's for another time. So it tells you, you know, what to watch out for and everything. Heretics. Crazy stuff. But I'm looking for this one interview that I think is one of the most incredible interviews ever, and for some reason I can't find it. I'm sure I'll find it when I post the video though. I'll find it. Here's some things that you certainly need to know about, for sure. These are all links. And folks, no shame. I highly suggest, Zuckerberg, take a peek through these. Okay. I won't touch them again. I've been in there before, and anywho, here's what we're looking for. Now in here, we got the whole 1611 authorized King James Bible. Okay, just shut up and get on the art. So it is. It's got everything. Everything. Okay. Because